think we are going. Forgot to do my eyebrows. Hello, everybody. And I'm looking now to see that that was caught. It's actually been a long time since I know you guys see my face. Things have been like super hectic over, I don't know, this summer. Kids are now back in school, but I'm still crazy. Where I am right now, it's been taking me forever to upload. So I am going to go back to live streaming, meaning it's just going to be there once I'm done. That way I don't have to wait, because I'm telling you, y'all, it's been taking a day to upload a regular video. So not sure what's going on with that. Wanted to update you guys also on something new that I've been doing. I have really just been concentrating on SPY, Qs, IWM, the big names in those particular ETFs, and then also like One Energy. So ZOM has been my favorite. Hopefully that don't change after this video, because too many people start playing like Oxy. But then also, like, you know, Chip Thursdays, so AMD or QCOM, MU, one of those things. But what this has allowed me to do is limit my focus. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I usually have a lot of tickers on the weekly list, maybe on the monthly. It can be a lot, especially when you're busy, to try to chart different tickers every single night or even every week. So doing the same tickers, I think you are able to learn those particular stocks and how they move, and you can wait and catch great moves, and that's all you need. Like if you caught Apple this past week, great job. You were used to playing it, you know how it moves, and when it has those good moves, it can move. So anyway, I just wanted to let y'all know that I was telling y'all that that's what I've been doing for a while, but just wanted to explain it a little bit more. All right, so coming up this week, we have nothing on Monday or Tuesday. Okay, so the volatility will probably come into the market on Wednesday with CPI. So we got CPI on Wednesday. Then on Thursday, we have PPI plus jobless claims. And then on Friday, we have Michigan consumer sentiment. So Wednesday through Friday, we'll probably have the great volatility that we need. And then Monday and Tuesday can set up the week. So like how I told you guys that I am only working on specific tickers, I also am working on a specific plan, because again, I'm busy, so I'm not I guess a full-time trader like I used to be, because I used to be able to sit in front of the computer all day if I wanted to. I'm not able to do that anymore. I can still do it, but you know how most people work. I have kind of gotten back into that, so again, yeah, I'm not able to watch it as much, but I do know that Mondays I don't like to trade. So Mondays I think are a indecision day. Sometimes you'll have a good trend day, but that's not often. So I usually don't trade on Mondays, and then I like to see, unless Tuesday is a trend day, I don't trade on Tuesday. But Wednesday, you can make your money on Wednesday and Thursday and be done for the week. All right, so just wanted to update you guys on the economic calendar. And then of course I had to bring you Frank's scanner again, because this guy is so awesome, and I really want y'all to really see the things that you can do with his scanner. So you can do things like take his scanner and make your plan, watch my videos every week, watch Jermaine's weekend shift, or whatever study group you are in, and you really have all the tools right here. Frank has added this new tab to his STRAT spreadsheet, and in this it shows you the actionable signals that are already in force. So you know, you can look at the bullish and bearish on the daily, on the weekly, monthly, so on, all the way up to the year. Okay, so if you were saying, all right, September has started, what has triggered already? Okay, so you'll say, okay, AMP has triggered. It's actually in force right now on the month. So it's an actionable signal that has triggered and is in force. This can really help reduce a lot of the, I guess, seeing what has happened so far in the month or looking at a whole bunch of tickers. Again, you can just look at this and see what's already in force. Then also, this has probably been here and I didn't know, but I think this is the dopest thing right here. This weekly newsletter close that includes charts, you guys. Like, so even looking at the monthly, when you look at last month, you see how it's set up. You know, what do we have? Okay, we have IWM here. That's an inside month, and it looks like it's about to trigger to the downside. All right, so it gives you that, and then each week you can go and check and see how it's doing on the week. You know, Q's inside week here. We got a somewhat hammer here, SPY inside week. So this is really nice. Then of course, scroll over, you can get a nice snapshot here of, you know, the percent change and things like that. Time frame continuity, of course, whether it's up or down. You know, so you can look at these, and instead of saying, okay, I'll look through all the sectors, kind of like I do, you can say, all right, XLE, we got full time frame continuity, that's green. We got XLRE, full time continuity, time frame continuity, that's red. We got XLP here and XLV that can possibly turn because it's almost full time frame continuity. But what you would look for here is the reversal back into this. So, you know, it may have had a corrective pop. You want to look to short it back down into time frame continuity. So that's an example of how you can use this snapshot to your advantage. And then, you know, you got your sector performances here, like index performance, index time frame continuity, because of course, you know, like I said, I am just focusing mostly on this SPY, Qs, IWM, of course, I love it. But it gives you a snapshot here of what things are doing. ETFs, some of your favorite ETFs, their time frame continuity, the signal scan. So look, you got inside, is that correct? Well, September 9th, so it has to be. I didn't realize that SPY had an inside week, or did I? And I forgot. It's possible. It's been crazy, y'all. Anyway, but look at this. Y'all almost don't need me. But I want y'all to continue to watch, because, you know, we still need to look at charts after this. But, you know, you got this right here. Full time frame continuity with an actionable signal and the scenario spelled out for you. So when these things align, it's basically dope. So thanks, Frank. That is actually so awesome that you did this. All right, so good morning, Cashmatic. I'm on the wrong screen, but we're just gonna deal with that today. Anyway, let us go to the charts. And I know it's early, so if you are here with me this early, hey, that's what's up. You're early bird like me. All right, so looking at the VIX. Now, the VIX is an interesting spot. Y'all look at these wicks. This has just been choppy, where it's trying to choose a direction it hasn't chosen yet. However, we did TTO and come back in. So this has a possibility to outside month if we have that red September that we have kind of been looking out for. So watching the VIX to see if it does an outside month. On the week, it's not looking too good. We got a shooter here on the week, which could indicate some bullish activity in the markets. However, hold that thought, y'all, 1 second. Don't start a live when you have bacon in the oven. Okay, anyway, so yeah, like I was saying, we had this inside week here with a shooter. However, we do also know that inside weeks could turn into outside weeks. It is very possible, like, we could start the week with this inside week going down, and then if it reverses, it could also go to reverse and trigger that outside month. CPI, PPI, that data may be what does it next week. And then also, you know, to watch this, if it does not TTO in reverse and it goes down, then you want to look for that bullish activity in the market. I am not bullish for the most part. The only bullish activity that I see is corrective activity. So yeah, we may boom a lot, but I'll show you in a little while why I'm still mostly bearish. All right, so dollar is still having great weeks. It no longer has this PMG anymore, but it had this hammer and it boomed up. So the dollar is still, why is this not going? There we go. The dollar is still looking good. With our monthly broadening formation, we do have room for it to still move up to the upside. Nasdaq is kind of almost sideways. I think it's chopping, getting ready to go down. All right, there's no actionable signal there, but here on the week we do have an inside week that is red, which we'll see with the Qs, and we just saw with Frank's scanner. You got a red inside week, so looking for that to possibly trigger to the downside. It closed closer to the low of the week than it did the high of the week. There's not really an actionable candle right there, but you would just look for this to break to the downside if we're going to have any more downside. You got this shooter here, and oh wait, let me go back. You'll see this on the Qs as well, but remember a couple weeks ago we were about right here, and I said we were in a weekly head and shoulders. Sometimes when it pops like that, you'll think, okay, that is invalid. No, let me see if I have the right tools. Can I do a brush? Yeah, let's just do that. So that's a shoulder, that's your head. Oh, that is ugly. That is your shoulder. So just like how, you know, eyebrows are like cousins, not sisters. I think that's the phrase. The shoulders are the same thing. So basically, your shoulders do not have to align perfectly for it to still be considered a shoulder. But this move up and rejection, and then the move down afterwards, let me know the bears still held control right there. So they came back in. You know, you had that corrective activity because, of course, 3 straight weeks down, corrective activity, and then they shorted it about where they needed to. Okay, so and then also when you look at this on the daily, oh, this thing is still active. Get off. All right, up. I don't know what this thing is doing, y'all. It's getting on my nerves. Okay, there we go. You see this on the daily. You're gonna see this on a lot of these charts. Is what almost looks like an inverted head and shoulders, but then it played out for the most part, but it got rejected at the top of that shoulder area from the weekly shoulder. So hopefully this is making sense. I know a lot of y'all watch me for STRAT, but y'all know I use STRAT plus patterns. So the pattern here that I see is possibly another shorter term head. Okay, so we're still in this larger head and shoulder area. It rejected right where we thought it would. It basically filled this gap and rejected, but now it made a new head, and this could be another shoulder area. So if anything, it could possibly chop in this area right here before moving back down, which would be a shoulder. Okay, so you got your head here, this is the shoulder area, this is the shoulder area, and if you look to the left, which is what we always like to do, this area right here is choppy, right? It gapped up, gapped down, gapped up. So orders here were kind of unfulfilled. Then we boomed through that, and we kind of are possibly ironing this area out. Okay, so I also want to show you something that Kiki mentioned to me when we get to SPY. But you'll see as far as us ironing out these areas why that is kind of important. All right, so looking at the Dow, inside month so far, not really giving us anything. If it does trigger to the downside, it did do a slight 2 up, so you would have a 2 up 2 down reversal on the month that it could possibly trigger. So looking at it on the weekly, there's not really actionable signal here. So but we are still in that shoulder area, kind of like everything else. Same thing on the day. You got your head here, and now we're in a shoulder area. If you look to the left, this is a choppy area. So if anything, it may chop here a little bit more before coming down. I'm still looking for this 338.43, which is to me going to be a strong support. I think a lot of these things are headed towards their 200, which would be a strong support for them. So IWM, I like this for a lot of reasons. Excuse me. So you got your inside month that is about to break to the downside. Now we know 181, 182 area is a very strong support area. So watch that area. If it loses it, good night. Okay, it can come all the way down to this 172. But on the 2 week, we do have a new 2 week starting tomorrow. So remember, those 2 weeks could also trigger. So you got a shooter here on the 2 week that was an outside bar trigger that didn't finish, and we often know that if it doesn't finish one time frame, it should finish the next. So it may finish this next week, get back down to that 182, and then that's going to be the level that it needs to be. Okay, it's also in this shoulder area on the week. On the day, it looks a little bit different, but at the same time, if y'all are getting used to seeing this, here's your head, this is your shoulder. So we're again in a shoulder area. I have been saying this probably for a couple of weeks. So understand, shoulder areas are choppy for the most part. It's chop. It's a fight between the bulls and the bears. So that shoulder area, you'll see good days, you'll see choppy days. It's mostly choppy days though. Like for instance, last week we had one good trend day, and for the most part every other day was a little bit choppy, except for IWM. But look, a lot of these, you had Tuesday was good, Wednesday was that's almost a doji, Thursday it gapped down but then kind of recovered, and then Friday it stayed in that same exact range. So that's what you're seeing a lot on a lot of these charts. So IWM again is at its 200. I remember we were saying, okay, it's at its 200, but it's kind of fighting to stay above, and then it just said, all right, bye, zoomed up, but then rejected again. All of these EMAs are still turned down. So again, I wouldn't really be bullish on this. If anything, you have that pop, but it gets shorted right back down. So we could possibly see that again, another pop, because again, the shoulder does not have to end here. It can come all the way up to retest these. But then you would be looking for it to drop again. So if it can make it past that 181 at 182 area that we know is strong, it can possibly come down and fill this gap at 176.26. So we'll be looking for that. Qs so far in the month, not really giving us much. Before I get to that, 2 week VIX, 2 week dollar, 2 week NASDAQ, 2 week Dow. The Dow does have somewhat of an actionable signal. It's an inside candle, not quite a shooter, but if it breaks to the downside, then it can move. All right, so, and we did IWM. All right, so here's the Qs. Now, the name of the game on these indexes with these 2 week bars are Randy Jackson's. So this is a possible bearish Randy Jackson setup, which is basically 2 down, 2 down, a corrective 2 up, and then another 2 down back into that trend. So remember, we have all of these that we can take out and still reverse to a higher highs, or at least come back to get to these highs like 409 here. But if you fib this like that on this 2 week, this could correct all the way to 323 and then still boom. Okay, so I talked to y'all a lot about that. Like, I'm bearish, but I'm still thinking that we just at least need to correct half of these insane moves that we had this year, and then we can continue to go to the upside. Like, I'm not thinking that we're gonna fall and go all the way to make new lows or anything like that. I wouldn't believe that until we break past these 200s. And if y'all know me, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that being above the 200 is bullish for me. But right now I am short-term bearish. Qs looking just like NASDAQ. On the weekly, you have this shoulder that we're in right here, and looking to see it's going to break down. If this breaks up, I would say above 381, it will negate this pattern, and this would be more like a flag. So this is what you kind of want to look for. Okay, so that's it kind of could flag. If it breaks out of this downtrend here, it's going to negate that head and shoulders pattern, and we wouldn't be bearish anymore. Okay, so at least hopefully y'all know what to look for to see what's going to change, or if the pattern is still in effect. All right, on the daily, again, you have your reversal here, or your head, and we are in the shoulder area. If you look right here, this is the same area that it kind of chopped through before, so it may again chop here before we see some more downside. We're going to have a strong support here at this 354, and then because you can see here it was a resistance, strong resistance that it bust through, and then it bounced hard from there, and we've been making higher lows since then. So that would be the level to break down, and then I think we can see this 200 touch, 338.21. Might even try to fill this gap because it can recover after that. But that's going to be our major point right there, that 338.40. That's the major one that we're going to be looking for. Alrighty, SPY kind of looks just like the Qs. Has not triggered anything on the monthly yet. On the 2-week, we also have the bearish Randy Jackson setup. It's not quite a shooter, but we know with SPY that's not really a big old thing. 439, 84, 440 is basically going to be the level to beat. Y'all know that we have kind of chopped around this 443 to 452, 54 area. We thought that this was, we see this head and shoulders here, and we said, oh, this may actually invalidate it, but the bear stepped in right where they needed to, 453, and now we have been rejected since then. But however, if you look at this on the weekly, you see how these EMAs are. It's sitting right at the support. So again, if this breaks above this 453 and is able to close above it with strength, then that will invalidate this, and this will be more like the flag that I showed you on the Qs. Okay, so this way you should be ready either way, whichever way it goes. Again, still in this shoulder area. If you look back right here, you can see where it kind of is gapped through here, and so this is an area where it may want to iron out before it continues to drop. Now, the difference here on the daily is this. You can see this is my 30, this is my 8. It is rejected there. Okay, now it did boom above it a little bit, but since then it has rejected there. It formed a shooter. So looking to see if it will continue that. It can still make a shoulder area here before it drops down, but looking for 435, and then ultimately again I'm still looking for about 423, 420. I think will be the next magnet for SPY. One other thing I do want you to notice, you do kind of have an inverted head and shoulders here, but I would say it's invalidated if it breaks below 443. And 443 is a very strong support. So that if it loses that, then that inverted head and shoulders will definitely not play out. So what QQ is showing is one thing you should always get in the habit of doing is moving to the left. And I moved too far to the left. Okay, so I'm trying to get where we are now. I believe it was here. Yep. So the last time SPY was here at this 443 area, not the last time, well, 2 times before, because the last time it was here kind of gapped above it Okay, and now we're back here. I told y'all we may iron out this area, but if you look all the way back here, the last time we were here, we had a really hard fall. If you look at it on the 4 hour, which is what she had me do, I'm trying to get this all in one screen. Let's see if I can do it like this. All right, so this is where we are. And the last time we was here was here, okay? And look, so from here, we had a really hard sell-off. This is something that Shay would call the market maker sell model. So you had the sell, you had the chop, you had the sell, you had a little more chop, and you had the sell. So, and then it did this craziness. But the whole point of that is a lot of times price has memory. So if you look to the left and you can see what price has done the last time it has been in this area, you can kind of understand what has happened. My battery just said, plug me in. Give me a second, y'all. And then also, I'm terrible at checking comments because I usually pre-record these. So let me just check and see if anybody said hi. Yes. Good morning, Laura. Good morning, Mr. Solid. Good morning, TF. Capitulation. I do not know what capitulation means. I'm not going to front. Yes, if we break that neckline on IWM, it's about to go down. Cashmatic, are you swinging anything? You know what? We're gonna look at Tesla real quick because I may actually swing Tesla. But as of right now, not really. If I swing something, it would be off that 2-week chart. Like I'm gonna show y'all some 2-week setups, which Tesla is one of those. And IWM, I'm thinking that may be a good swing, especially if we break that neckline. Just completed my 3rd round swing trade on LQR on Friday. That one started at 101 and closed at 128 in 2 days. Good job, TF. That's what I'm talking about. 431.51 for SPY and 437.06. Okay, let's go. Wait, let me look at that again. I just instantly forgot that, y'all. 431.51 and 437.06. So 431.51 is about here, which, yep, that sounds about right. 437.06. I can see that. So those levels that TF just gave, you can understand why this would possibly be a support level. It's been a resistance and a support several times, so I can definitely see that, like almost perfectly, that 437 is wicked off of there. And then this would be the bottom. This would be like the do or die point because it would TTO these folks out. So if it continues from here, it's definitely going towards that 423.78. So SPY may be, yeah, that may be definitely about to come down. Ain't no maybe, it's coming down. It's coming down. I said I was going to work on that. Stop saying if it does this, and it's coming down. Here's another reason. Apple. We know Apple has been on the tear, right? On the monthly, now it's hit the top of our bar information. We made new highs. Since then, we have technically made higher lows. I mean, lower highs. That is always like a tongue twister for me. So if you look at that, even this last bump, it still made a lower high than since it's done. Since it's all-time high, let's say. So you know that a 3 bar is a new broadening formation or supply and demand, however you look at it. And you want to see whether or not it breaks to the downside to continue that or to the upside. The pattern right now, or the trend, is that it's making lower highs, so it is definitely bearish. So I would look for Apple to be bearish, especially with this 2-week Randy Jackson setup you have here. The 2 weeks are the best ones to swing because you can give them time, especially if like that 2 week triggers a monthly. You like that one thing triggers the other. So Apple is looking really good. If Apple continues, y'all know Apple is basically what brought the market down this week. So if Apple continues and does this 3-2 down, then we can definitely see the rest of the market come down with that. Now, we had a gap. It came up here and filled it and shorted it right back down. Another gap, and then now we have this gravestone doji. I would say a shooter, but no, that's definitely a gravestone doji. And if y'all know your patterns or your candlesticks, then y'all know that that is bearish for the most part. So I used to say in the Discord a lot, Apple, IWM, and Tesla on a Monday. Because sometimes, even though I told you I don't usually trade Mondays, those 3 stocks will do really good on a Monday and have a nice trend day. So Monday, Apple may give us a nice 2 up, 2 down, take it to that 173. That may be one of those days that Apple moves good. Remember I said, some days it doesn't. Look at this doji day. Like, these are horrible days to try to trade Apple. But if you wait for something like this Tuesday, even if you had caught this when it gapped down, if you had caught that moving up, or this 2 up, 2 down, this Randy Jackson, that's the theme this week, catching that to that 173.72 is pretty good. And then you can really, they're pretty cheap contracts. So Tesla is not as cheap on a Monday, but Apple and IWM are. All right, so Microsoft. Now Microsoft does have a possible 2 up here, but I honestly think that with the market being completely weak, Microsoft would have to have some really banging news to basically trigger that monthly to the upside. So what you're seeing here is you got your head, you have a shoulder here, but it has not quite come all the way up to the top of that shoulder, which could be about 351.37. Okay, but you can also see here, put that there because my other, I must have been, this is on the week, that's why. You can also see here that this is almost flagging. So this will be like the top 351 if it can break through this 336. And then if Microsoft does push to the upside, that may help the market. I'm seriously doubting it though, but again, we play what we see. The difference here though is, when we were looking at the Qs and we were looking at SPY, how on the daily we had more of a head. You don't really have that here with Microsoft. So this is what gives me a little bit of pause. Also seeing what we saw in the VIX. So Microsoft would definitely come out with some crazy news and then boom to the upside, because here you have more of a inverted head and shoulders. All right, it's still in the shoulder area, but you see your inverted head here. On our other stocks, we had a rounded reversal head on the daily. We don't really have that here. Here you have this basically flagging. So it can go either way, but it's flagging, and the short-term 8 has crossed above this 20 and provided support. So Microsoft would be the one to give me pause as far as, if everything else drops, Microsoft could be the one to support the market. And y'all know that Microsoft has saved the market many a time. So that's what I want y'all to be aware of. I'm not going to do Amazon, but I am going to do Tesla, because I was really just answering someone who said that was I swinging anything, and I do like Tesla. Now Tesla is not really giving us anything on the monthly, but it could possibly still outside quarter. No, I'm looking at that wrong. Y'all, what I wanted to say was, even though this is it has an outside quarter setup, it cannot finish that before the end of September. Now that would be about $100. Like, Tesla would have to have some kind of crazy news for it to have $100 sell-off in 3 weeks. But what I would look for is for it to at least come down to this halfway mark and trigger it. We also know that this halfway mark right here could be a place where bulls can step in to the upside, but I would go ahead and play this to the downside. Why? Because it's mostly looking bearish to me. we have this, it's the 2 week that I wanted to, the Randy Jackson, possible bearish Randy Jackson here, if the bears step in. And then you have this inside week that's a shooter, even though it's green, that's not, that it's basically for me playing this into back into full time frame continuity. So we're red on the month and the quarter, right? The week is still green, but once next week opens, if it 2-1-2 down, then you'll have that full time frame continuity that you want. So for me, that would be a swing to take it down to possibly around 213.79. But you would definitely want to give it a couple of weeks minimum for that. All right. It's also kind of looking like Microsoft here. You kind of have an inverted head and shoulders, but then you have this. All right. Now, I believe it was back here the last time I talked about Tesla with you guys, and it was doing the same thing. It was flagging, and we were looking to see which way it was going to break down. Okay, you got this double inside, and then it's kind of still stayed stuck in this area. So Tesla, it has a shooter here on the day. If it does decide to die and move past this 244, that's what I would be looking for to break down, to come down to that at least this 225, and then possibly fill this gap at 218. Then it can finish that at the 212.89. So that's what I would be looking for, because it is looking like it wants to break down. But keep your lines drawn and be ready, of course. All right, so from there, we're going to take a look at the sectors really quickly. On the week, you got XLY, that is an inside week, kind of a hammer, but red. This is also flagging, so you have to see kind of which way this is going to go. To me, it's looking a little more bullish, but at the same time, we are in this shoulder area. We have a rejection here, so this could kind of go either way. You have this almost W, inverted head and shoulders, but then you got this head here, and we're in the shoulder area. So XLY could kind of go either way. This would be like your Meta, I believe Amazon plays for your XLY. XLK Technology do have an actionable signal here. Time frame continuity is completely red. You got your 2 up, 2 down. You have your failed 50% that it triggered. It didn't finish, so looking to see if that finishes to the next week to give us this 168.84. So that's your technology. When you look at it again, it's in this shoulder area. So this is like, it chopped here 1 2 3 4 5 weeks before it finally moved up, then rejected, and it finally came down, and it's still staying in that same area. So you really want to look to see it break down out of this area or break to the upside. I don't think the bulls have the strength right now. They should be pretty tired. But yeah, so that's XLK. Again, shooter, this looks just like the Qs. You got a shooter here on the day where it filled that gap and then came back down. So XLF, your financials. So inside month, possible break to the downside. When you look at it on the 2 week, you do have a 2 week inside almost shooter. So look for more weakness in XLF. I was talking about, I think it's JPM last week, and it's triggered the monthly, and it's definitely bearish. So I believe MS is another one. Look for your favorite bank stock, because it is also bear flagging here and possibly going to break down. XLC, communication services, inside week doji, so you have nobody in control here. A lot of times when I see something like that, I will look on that 2 week or a higher time frame to see who is really in control and try to see if I can play it back into whatever direction it may wants to play. So XLC, you got an inside day here. A lot of these charts are looking the same, like we're still in this chop area. And if you need more confluence, remember, just go back. What did it do the last time it was in this area? Okay, You'll see this a lot. The last time it was in this area, chopped a little bit for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, and it died. So remember, price has memory. I want y'all to get used to doing that. Thank you, Kiki, for remembering to remind us to scroll all the way back. XLE has been strong, and so that is probably one of the strongest sectors right now. I'm going to show y'all on the plays really quickly that some of them have either outside quarter or triggered the quarter up. If you see this here, XLE had a double inside quarter. That's not an actionable signal, but y'all know what that means. Double inside quarter means a long consolidation period and a breakout in either direction that should be strong. So because it consolidated and broke to the upside, we're looking for it to definitely continue. I'm thinking this 94.63, that's going to be a first hard resistance, and then we can possibly get up to these all-time highs. And remember with XLE, I don't still have it over here, but we do have a yearly broadening formation that we are in. Not surprised this is not up here anymore. So, you know, this has room. It can go to this all-time high, and then it can continue up. You know, maybe want to pull a Microsoft or Apple and go for new highs. So keep that in mind when doing the XLE stuff. XLU is not looking really good. XLU had triggered the quarter up. No, that was the wrong one. That was XLI, sorry. But this is the opposite of XLE, where it triggered the quarter down. So you had this double inside quarter that went down. It's mostly kind of got to its target, but it does still have room if it wants to continue to the downside. And also remember, these double inside breakouts should lead to, you know, a strong move. So it's not going to just come down and just come back up. Usually it should continue. And also, I mean, look at this on the 3-month. It's in the shoulder area. You got a head, you got your shoulder, head. It's in the shoulder area. It should break down. On the week, it's under the 200. Everything is pointing down. Like, this is giving all the bearish signals that you would look for. It's definitely in a downtrend. XLI. Now XLI, we were watching for the upside trigger, but I think that a lot of them got weak and came back in. So you see, I doubt that this is going to finish the outside quarter. It definitely could. Is that be 96.70? It's about $10. ATR is about 130. So yeah, it could definitely do it if it wanted to still go. 96.70 would be my target for that if it does outside quarter. You have this outside bar here, and remember, we look for them to broaden, broadening formations to broaden. So basically, if this can break this 105.59, it does have room to come down. So watch your favorite industrial. You have also this shooter here, didn't finish. If this can continue, you got your head here, may shoulder or may not, but this could hold head all the way down here and then shoulder. This is a whole entire chop area, so be aware of that. On the daily, see there, all of the EMAs are pointing down. So right here, breaking this 105.59 would be strong, and then we can come down to this 200. That's what I would be looking for. All right, XLV. Chop mania, and it's still not doing much. You can see it's in this tight area now. It's kind of in a little bit of an uptrend, but it's not really doing enough. So this is something I wouldn't really touch unless it actually broke to one side or the other. But even this, unless you like are a scalper, this is, who wants to play like that? You know, we like the big green bars and we like trend days, but you know, unless you caught it like here, this 2-1-2 down, or you know, you caught the 2 down 2 up reversal, it's really in a chop zone. So your favorite XLV stock may be doing a little bit better, but it's chopping around this 200, and to me that means that nobody is really in control. You know, it does make it up. We had a higher high here, but then since then we've had lower highs, and then now we're just sitting right back at the 200. So it's kind of at decision time. All right, XLP, same thing, ill. Like, look at this. Kind of sort of inverted head and shoulders because you have this low here, but at the same time it's choppy. Like, it's not something that I would even consider messing with until it broke down. Like, break out of this area. If it can break 7106, I think it can definitely at least head for the 6636, and then it might continue down. Now this is looking somewhat bearish to me, but it's still choppy. It seems to me that they are shorting this rep, but it's still such a chop that I would stay away from it. Again, short the rip. You know it's strong when it's under the 200, which is where it is. So yeah, it's still choppy, but to me the bears are really, I don't want to say regaining control, but mostly in control, especially being under that 200. XLRE, this is a bear flag for sure. When you come down like this and it's flagging. So that's what it looks like. A bear flag is when it comes down, and then you have this flag here. So this is what you're looking for. If it can break through this, then it can have more downside. Consequently, if it breaks to the upside, this is your resistance. So that's a good way to draw your flags to understand, you know, if it does this 2 down, 2 up, you know, we might get to this 39.35, but then that's going to be the ultimate resistance. Of course, draw your broadening formations, regular ones as well, but I really think that this helps when you see those type of patterns. My Frenchies, y'all. So yeah, this is what you see on the weekly here. On the daily, we are under our 200, so kind of see how that breaks down on the daily, the monthly broadening formations that I did, right? So it's in between these two. We know that the 200 is a strong resistance. All right, XLB materials, it's kind of the same thing on the monthly. Chop, 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 inverted head, chop, 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 chop. So where is it going to go? You got an inside month here. Got to see which way it's going to break. On the 2 week, you do have a shooter that could possibly break down, but it's still in this chop area. I would need it to really break through there for me to be consider playing that. It's above its 200, but this XLB is kind of looking to me like the Qs. You got that rounded reversal here. We're in this shoulder area. Let's go back. Last few times we were here, we dropped here. It was a resistance here. From here, you dropped. So it actually might iron out this area, because look, like, this is the area it just loves to drop from, or it possibly can find support there. So I wouldn't really touch this until it broke down. I would need this to break probably below the 200 and stay, for me to want to play it, that $80, and then maybe you could possibly target that gap. All right, oops, I'm on the wrong one. The monthly XOP, I know this is long today, y'all, but we have 2 week bars, so y'all know I talk a little bit extra about that. XOP broke out of this flag area, just not a whole lot of strength. So that's the only thing. This almost looks like a morning star on the week. So if this does a 2 up, 2 down, catch this, because a morning star pattern is basically a candle that gaps up from the previous candle, and it ends as a doji, and it's usually formed after an uptrend. Now, this isn't like a long uptrend, but it's still that candle. So what you would look for, if this is the 2 up, 2 down, that 150 break, you definitely want to take that to that 145.49. It may even do even worse than that. You can consider this right here a morning star. Morning star, evening star. Did I say morning star, y'all? I meant evening star. I'm so sorry. This is an even better one because it's red, and it's more of a gravestone doji. I think either doji could help identify the pattern, but this is a better one. And you can basically see uptrend. You had a gap up. It ended in a gravestone doji. Next week, it died Again, I'm not saying that it's going to die like this, but if it does that, you may want to catch that. Okay, it may take out all of these folks, so just something to be aware of. On the daily, this is kind of bull flagging to me, so it may not do that pattern, but you look back, last time, a few times it was there, it's died from this area. So I think it would need to either break through strong, or it may repeat that pattern. We'll watch it though, because again, like we said, this, it's possible bull flag here, so it may want to continue to the upside. And you also have full time frame continuity that's green here, so I wouldn't really expect that to turn, but I don't negate that pattern. All right, XRT real quick, because retail is not looking good. It's actually doing it's red so far. It has like most of the full time frame continuity that's red. I think it was Macy's that came up on my scanner, and it has this 2-1 possible 2 down. So your favorite retail may be in this corrective activity, I guess, before we get to like holiday season, when y'all know that things should pick up for those. But you do have a inside shooter here on the 2-week that could possibly turn into a play. And then on the daily, when you look at it, it is under the 200. So it has bounced from here before. So if anything, it has also had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All last week it was red. You may look for some corrective activity first before you ride it back into full time frame continuity or keeping that going. Jets is another one that we have been watching. Hasn't really, it had its summertime boom, and then look, y'all, this is almost, no, it's not, it's almost an evening star, but you have to know for an evening star it has to gap above the previous close, which this necessarily didn't do, but it kind of did what I was trying to show y'all. Did that doji, and then the next week it died. Still dying. It's looking pretty bearish. It's not looking like it's recovering anytime soon. There's no signal on the weekly or the 2-week. It's just in this downtrend now. It's broken back below it's 200, and so we are bearish for Jets. You see that actually with BA. If you look at BA, it had its move up and then it's been bearish. So this lithium still in the shoulder area, but it's chopping slowly down. You can kind of see that it's in a downtrend. No real actionable signal in the month, but you do have this gravestone doji on the 2-week, and on the week you have a 3. So if it does a 3-2 down, it could trigger the 2-week and also keep going to the downside. We are under our 200. All of these are pointing down. So if you ask what that could possibly mean, if you gap away from that, you would use that as a point of resistance for correction. So, right here, you're far away from the EMAs, right? Well, you would expect it to come back down, or at least chop there while it waits for this to come down to it. Then use that as a point of rejection, and boom. All right, so knowing that they are all turned down, we are bearish on that. SOXL has not been doing a whole lot, but I think it's chopping in the shoulder area and may come down, and that's really going to depend a lot on NVIDIA, AMD, QCOM, TCOM, MU, all of the chips to basically possibly come down some, or at least correct before our next earnings. Looking at it on the daily, we are like just above the 200, so it's not really doing a whole lot. You do have similar to the Qs here, this recent head. However, this is not as confident for me. And then we have IYT transportation. Again, it had its summer move, and then now it's having its corrective activity. You got your head here on the 2-week. On the weekly, same thing, head. You got your shoulders. Full time frame continuity. So looking for this to continue to the downside. You're going to have to find some strong support here at this 238.54. See this daily head and shoulders? or in the shoulder area. So if it loses that 200, then we can expect a lot more downside. And then lastly, China has not been good, y'all. Like, we've been watching China all year, and it's just, it had a boom, and then it was like, it's like a deflated balloon. It just died, and then now it's really choppy. It's like not a whole lot going on there. You do have a 2-week signal though. So I know Baidu is on my list. I'm getting ready to show y'all the list shortly for this possible 2-week finishing this. It was the outside trigger, and so finishing that, and then maybe even still going to the downside, because we are completely bearish on China. Now, the only thing with China is China can be a little bit tricky because of this, these gaps. So that's something that a lot of times time will help. So if you know for sure, you've got full time frame continuity. Say this gapped up and filled this gap, and then it started to move back to the downside, then you can play that to the downside with some time, because you caught it back into full time frame continuity. It's early, so I'm tripping up on everything, y'all. So that is yen in China. Before I get to the 2-week setups, let me check these. Check the comments. Okay. Market capitulation is a term used by investors and traders during times of market decline. It refers to an extreme point of panic selling. Y'all, I'm rubbing my hands because I'm a bear at heart. I'm not gonna lie. I don't always try to play a bearish move if we're clearly bullish, but I love market capitulation. I think that's why I like being a bear, because that's what happens. An extreme point of panic selling. You kind of saw that on Tuesday. It was like, oh my God, Apple is dying. A lot of things were just running, and then they were just dying. With the panic selling with Apple, you'll have some people saying that it hit a supply zone, or and then you had that news where China was banning iPhones and people started panic selling. So thank you for that, TF. Investors are willing to sell their assets at any price, resulting in a rapid decline in prices. Yep. Good morning, Chambrielle. Apple, Tesla, and which other ones? I'll show you those in just a second when we get to the weekly list. I do want to remind y'all, when I give y'all a weekly list, you usually want to give those a week. So most of those are going to be swing trades, and some of them don't always even set up right away, but those are things I want you to watch throughout the week. So definitely give time on those. So those are mostly going to be swings. TF said, we and market makers seem to be waiting on a catalyst for a sell-off. I cannot find any positive for the health in our markets, including globally. I completely agree with that. Definitely waiting for a catalyst, and it may be Microsoft. TF also says, I think Microsoft is the strongest tech stock, but is included in ETFs with other components that may crack, sort of like a double drowning setup. Yes, so if we can lose Microsoft as well, because Microsoft is being held up. Remember, we just looked at that chart, and that chart looked a little bit different than everything else. It didn't have that same head or that same rounded reversal, but losing Microsoft could lose everything else. Monday, first 2 hours of trading is the most volatile of the entire week. Yes. Market makers selling those options for Fridays, traps everywhere. Yep, I call it indecision Monday. I usually do not trade on Monday, and that's I won't enter any swing trades. I will only do a day trade if it's a strong trend day. And like I said, Apple, IWM, Tesla are things that I watch on Mondays. If I get a strong trend day, I might do a quick day trade. Other than that, and I never enter my weekly swing positions on Mondays, because turnaround Tuesday is a thing, and wipeout Wednesday is also a thing. So those are things you have to be careful of. Be careful of those traps. They love to trap the bulls and the bears. The VIX is giving false readings because of 0-day time expiration. TF, I need to get you up here, because oh my gosh, thank you for all of this information, but 0-day TE is hurting the investment side of trading. Yes, but money is being made in loss. Yes. You guys, if y'all are doing 0-day TE, do 1 day. It gives you a little bit more cushion to some of those volatile moves, and you don't get eaten up by theta. You know, you can day trade the next day's expiration and still, yeah, it's cost a little bit more, but it's a little bit safer. I'm not gonna say a lot safer because theta is still gonna kick your behind, but it's a little bit safer. If anyone likes a penny play now and then, I took position on EZGO for a swing. And then he says my scanner was blowing up on there for a sell-off, so it's a snipe grab. China markets were closed on Friday because of heavy weather. Okay. I'm also anxious to see where they open tonight. Semiconductors will go down first, canary in the coal mine. All right, TF, so speaking of that with the semis, I wanted to talk about, oops, I'm on the wrong thing. Some of these 2-week setups. I'm going to put this up here because NVIDIA. So, NVIDIA on the monthly now, first of all, it's inside month, but it would not be too much for this to trigger the downside. Now, it would have to really sell off, but we know the ATR for NVIDIA is like $20. So, 402 is like 50 something bucks away. This is the monthly. It has time to die, especially after hitting highs like that. But looking at it on the 2-week, you do have an inside 2-week here. So if it can break 449.35, it may have some serious downside. Also, if you know it's an inside 2-week, then you know that that's a double inside week, right? Now we know that that is not a strat signal, but again, that's just consolidation for a bigger breakout. It looks like at first the bulls were in control, then the bears, and now it's about to break to the downside. So really watch NVIDIA. You know, you'll have full time frame continuity if it can break below 424.51. So that's going to be your level to kind of get to have full time frame continuity that's red on NVIDIA. So watch Viddy. Watch Viddy. You can see also it kind of, since we had that, I think this was after earnings. Yep, after earnings, we have had lower highs since then, which we know is bearish. Okay, here on the daily, you have this. This is not an actionable signal. Well, it's a 2 up, 2 down, but the candle is just not great. But what you can see here is that rejection and close below this 30. Kind of have this head. This is kind of a shoulder head. This is really an ugly pattern, but hopefully y'all are getting used to seeing the patterns as I point them out. You do have a gap here at 435 that it could go for, and then remember we got a gap all the way down here, gap area, orders that were waiting to be filled between 367 and 307. Like, that's just if you had an order there, then what, it's just, it never got filled. So we like to be aware of gaps because we also know that they can go towards these gaps. So yes, weakness in the chips could be a thing. Target is another one. If y'all do ICT, I think it's ICT that does this, the market maker sell model, whoever does that. Shay in my Discord talks about that a lot, but I understand it. Basically, it's a chop, a drop, a chop, a drop. So is it in the chop and then drop again type of thing? But yeah, you have that set up there. XLF we talked about. You had an inside shooter here, XLI, with the shooter again and looking for more downside. Starbucks, inside shooter. I put this line here because Starbucks has also been in the downtrend, but that's going to be your support. So if it can break through there, it can also trigger that 3-2 down. Remember how we said a 3 is a new broadening formation, and broadening formations, we look for them to broaden. So if it breaks through there, then we can look for that to continue to come down. It's also kind of chopped over here in the last few months, making a shoulder, which I think will give us more downside. Larger term, though, you do see this head, right? Shoulder. That shoulder can go really down to about 91.30. Actually, because yeah, it can come about right there. So 86.46, I would be looking for them to save this shoulder area. Otherwise, it's also looking like a bear flag to just come on down. So At Starbucks, CVX, it's not really great, but if it can break through this 64.60, there's a lot of room there to the next target of 55.47. Looking at it on the weekly, it's also that sell model, so it may chop a little bit here first before it moves down, but you would want to look for time frame continuity to turn before you would jump in that for more downside. IWM we talked about, looking to see if that can break through this 181.61. And then Baidu is what I was showing y'all before. This is an absolutely beautiful gravestone doji. So if it doesn't decide to gap down, it drives me crazy when they do that. But if you can catch this could be a nice move. Give it some time, because again, it does do those gaps. But yeah, this is I really like this type of setup where you have that long wick rejection of all of this and a really tight close. So if it can just break down and under, we have a good play there. So some things that have triggered, well, the only thing that has triggered the 50% is new. It's not a whole lot of meat left on those bones, but y'all know I just let y'all know about it anyway. Also eBay, same thing, not a whole lot of meat yet. Then PDD has not triggered yet, but possibly could. So, you know, we were talking about how China was not looking good. You have this inside week here, so that this inside week could trigger the outside month. Then you can take that onto the downside. So PDD may be a good move for an outside month. And also remember with the outside months that that's a point that the opposite side can step in. So you would need to see it break through and hold below that for it to actually be in force and stay in force. Otherwise, that could be a point where they buy and send it back up. Lastly, I know I'm done. I'm done after this, y'all. I'm done after this. Y'all weekly list. All right, so again, speaking about chips. Oh, before I do this, hold on. Let me go back because TF might have been talking. Yep. And good morning, Crystal. Sorry, I think I missed that. All right, where we bought back some MBDS on Tuesday. My mind has been opened up on new to me, the influence of manipulation with companies that deal with private equity. These companies are shorted to dirt. Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but okay. I could let you know of a YouTuber explaining the whole things. Suggesting him a month. Oh yeah, you can suggest. Go ahead, put it in the chat. That'd be great. I'm always willing to learn about that. You know, there's a lot of manipulation in the markets. Anybody say the markets are not manipulated? Like, come on, y'all. We know they are. So, yes, please drop it. All right, back to your weekly list. AMD, nice possible RevStrat setup here. So again, remember TF was just talking about chips could go. NVIDIA, we had that double inside week, and then we also had that nice 2 week. AMD, this is, you know, it's an inside 2 week, but it's green. It's not a shooter or a gravestone doji, but you got this weekly RevStrat. So, you know, with the RevStrat, I love those because we're looking for not just the previous candle, but the one before that. So if this goes in force, 99.57 is what we're looking for with AMD. I think that 100 is just a strong area for that. Of course, also you see that's right at the 200 on the weekly. So that's probably an area it's going to struggle at, or it may just sit there. But you have your shooter here on the day. Shoot, AMD, if it has a trend day on Monday, it may move. But this is just not a whole lot of meat right there. It would have to break this 105.15, and then it may start going down to that that weekly target. But keep AMD on your list. MRK is the opposite. It has another RevStrat, but it has a hammer. That hammer is red though, so and you would be kind of going against time frame continuity, but it would be a thing where if it does flip to the upside, then you want to take it to that 111.99, understanding that if you do, it will flip the month green, but not the quarter yet. 114.46 would be your quarter flip. But those would be the type of things that you would look for if you want to take it to a time frame continuity flip. You had some support. You have a hammer here. It closed above these EMAs. So if it does flip to the upside, that's what you want to look for. XOP has a possible evening star here on the weekly. So that's if it does this 2 up, 2 down, 150.10 break, that's what I would be looking for it to come down here to this 145.29. ZOM. So ZOM has triggered the outside quarter and held. So we are still looking for it to continue up to this about 120. If it's going to continue, but you know, it's funny because I was short ZOM, last week on Thursday because of this. It was like a double top. So I almost caught this at the top, but then exited because it found support here, and then it still moved to the upside. So ZOM is not really ready to fall, but I was able to just scalp a little bit to the downside. But when you look at it, it has triggered that outside month, so we will expect it to still at least go to that 120. Now it may take some time to do it, but if you look at it, like, it's full time frame continuity is green. If you are going to short it like I did, just, you know, use that as like a day trade or something like that, because it's really only having corrective activity and it's moving to the upside. So that would be my first target to the downside, that 111.42. But otherwise, yeah, it's looking good for upside trigger. HD. Now HD was one that we've been watching this for this quarter rev strat. However, it's not having the strength to get up there. For some reason, it's like it started going and then it stalled. So where it is now is it's kind of stuck sideways. You see how I drew your line? So you still have somewhat of an upward channel that is in, but at the same time, it's kind of flagging. Let me draw this one here. So you really want to see where HD is going to go. Okay, the time frame continuity is a little mixed, but if it can continue to the upside, you want to see if it can break out of this area. It has an inside week here, but it was red. So if it breaks down, then we're going to know that it's probably not going to continue to finish that quarter. But if it can break above this 333.88, then we can assume that bulls have regained control, and it may start making its way up towards trying to get to that quarter target. COP, beautiful. This right here is almost that evening star that I've been trying to talk about. Again, Kiki, but it did not. Been watching it to see if it was going to finish this. It got close enough. Okay, it got really close, but what we're seeing now is a possible evening star after an uptrend. So still keep an eye on it. That's the only actionable signal I see on the week, but keep an eye on it because it could fall from here, or it could continue and finish that quarter move that we were talking about. Couple things that have triggered the monthly. FedEx, it's making you aware of that. Now this is done at 212 down. Always remember, when we do that, you want to look to see it to see if it continues to go to the downside. Okay, because it can trigger here and then it can definitely just come right back up, and threes are often after ones, but you want to find that multiple confluence or that actionable signal that you have. I think it was on the daily, may have been the 4 hour. Yeah, kind of sort of. So in your 4 hour, what I would do on this is had this, I would look to see if it has some corrective activity up to here and then ride that back down into the full time frame continuity. But you know, it has triggered the monthly. When you look at it, it's looking pretty bearish. We've had lower highs, things like that. It's at a strong support, but yeah, it's triggered the monthly. Starbucks has not triggered yet, but I wanted to put y'all on this radar because remember we talked about the 2 week. You got that inside 2 week, inside month may also trigger, so watching that. And then we already talked about Nvidia, which are double inside week. You got Marvel here that also did a double inside week. So actually I should have put that on the 2 week list, my bad y'all. but you do have a double inside week here for Marvel to look for. Same thing with Target. The Tesla with the inside week, trying to look to see if it's going to break down and continue to give us that downside that we were looking for. Amazon inside week, kind of like a hammer. Amazon is another one. It's almost like a quiet behemoth. A lot of people don't realize that it does. If Microsoft and Apple can be red, if Amazon and Google are green, the market's going to struggle a little bit. So Amazon does have a little bit of weight. We're still in this shoulder area, but it can still move to the upside. So Amazon and Microsoft could kind of hold the market a little bit, and Google, because Google has been doing this thing where it booms, comes down to test the EMA, boom, comes down to test the EMA, boom. And now we have an inside week that's a hammer. So if it moves to the upside, it could also help with the indices. And then consequently, it could come down to test these EMAs again. But we have a hammer here, and we know hammers means the bulls are in control. So Shop is another one. This is in a chop area, but if it can break through here, we can at least catch this range back down to this 56, 53. You got full time frame continuity that is red here, and it's not looking like it's going to push to the upside. So watch Shop. First want to go at least for this gap fill. It's almost look like an inverted head and shoulders. So it could even come down to this gap and still bounce, but that stronger, well, with the gap is like $60. I think it is. Yep, $60. So that would be halfway through that candle here, which is still good. I mean, $3 on Shop is like cheap. So another cheapie for you guys is Uber. You got an inside hammer here, which I believe, yes, I was looking at it on the monthly. So if Uber wants to trigger to the monthly to the upside and flip time frame continuity, it could start with this weekly hammer, but it's going to need to get above that 49.51. So its time frame continuity is kind of mixed, but it can flip that monthly to the upside. You can see here that it's found support, boomed a little bit, corrected, had a higher low, and now it's moving back to the upside. So Uber is actually a cheapie you can look at in the beginning of the week also, if you must trade. And then lastly, Baidu. We already talked about Baidu on the 2 week, but it's on the weekly list because it also has an inside week. So that 2-1, 2 down could trigger that 2 week, and it can continue to come down. So you kind of see, for the most part, China is all bearish. But remember, keep in mind, this is sitting right at this 200, printed as shooter on the day. It's like a shooter counters hammer, and it stayed inside. Miss you, Rob. And it stayed inside. So yeah, Baidu could be a good mover to the downside for next week. So I think that's it. That was long today, y'all. I guess because I went live. I think I've just been talking. Let me see how long. It doesn't tell me how long. Well, we'll get it though. All right. This tuber is a little rough for some. Truth hurts. If they watch ICT, they can watch this. And not a pumper. I like that. GME, he has a good argument. Marantz rants. Check out his Connect the Dots series, and he continues to build. And prepare yourself for a mind-blowing eye-opener. Dope. Yeah, I always support other YouTubers because I'm not like that. Like, I don't. The more you watch, like I watch so much YouTube. Oh my gosh. One of the guys from my Discord is about to start his YouTube channel, and he's taught us a lot about supply and demand. I don't talk about that on here because I try not to confuse y'all. But yeah, once he gets his thing up and going, then I will be back. And I know y'all not supposed to see this screen right here, but again, we making it work. We going, y'all have come. Hopefully y'all have been with me for a while. Y'all have seen like some of the things I've gone through. So we'll get it. But you're welcome, Keith. Great seeing you. And then I guess maybe one time if y'all request it, I might go through like futures or something. I know I never do futures, but at the same time, one thing I talk about with the people in my Discord with futures, if you look at SPY, that's ES. If you look at the Qs, that's NQ. Or just look at NASDAQ, like we do look at NASDAQ. If you look at IWM, that's the Russell in futures. If you watch ZOM and XLE, that's your CL. You don't have gold on there. And I feel like I'm mixing. No, ES, NQ, CL, gold, IWM, and Dow, DIA. If you look at the Dow, then that'll help you with the futures Dow. So I don't really have to go to over futures in my opinion, because it's kind of the same thing. If I say, oh, SPY 43 is going to be a strong level, that's 44.30 in ES basically. So you are welcome, TF. It was great seeing y'all. Thanks y'all for watching. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of the weekend and happy trading. Bye.